So we are at a point where we need to start adding in stats, right? Pokemon have a bunch of different stats that are associated with them. For instance, they have int HP, int speed, int attack, int defense, int special attack, int special defense. So you have 6 main stats. These are combat stats. The thing is, we actually have more than just 6 because we have the base stats. So here I'm on PokemonDB.net and I'm looking at Pikachu's data, right? So number 25, electric type, height, weight, and different abilities. Here we have base stats. So we have HP, attack, defense, special defense, speed, right? But these are the base stats. As in at level 1, here are its stats. As Pokemon level up, their stats increase, they change. And it's based off of different things called EVs and IVs, which can affect the overall stats. In reality, what we have are base stats, and then we're going to have something like current stats, right? So if we're doing combat, his HP is 35. But what if he takes a hit, right? His HP will be different, but his max was still going to be 35. So we actually need more than just 6. We need 12. We need base HP and then current HP, base attack and current attack. So we can go in here and do base HP, base speed, and all that. But that's just going to get really hectic. So we'd have to take all these and copy them again. Then we need setters and getters for each one of these for current HP, speed, attack, defense, and all that stuff. Honestly, this is going to get really unwieldy really quickly. So what can we do about that? Let's say we're building a 3D game engine. One of the jobs of a game engine is to process data from a 3D model and then render it to the screen. Every 3D model is a mesh with vertices that exist in a 3D plane, X, Y, and Z. In this example, how do we keep track of them? Think of it this way. You have a cube that's made of 8 different vertices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Each one of these vertices that are at the corners has its own coordinates. So point 1 might be at 500, while point 2 is at 055, and all that. So if you have 8 vertices that you have to keep track of, each with 3 different values, how can you keep it organized? Right? How do you ensure you don't mix your different values up? So you do 24 different variables, sure. You do list, create a dictionary, like there's different things you could do, but really the easiest and best thing to do would be to create something called a struct. Create your own data type. You can create a custom data type. Each point has an X, Y, and Z location, even if they have different values. So what if you could create something called a vertex that holds 3 different values, and that's it. And we can in the form of structs. Well, what is a struct? In C++, a struct is a custom data type that bundles related variables together. So the problem that it's solving is like, how do you keep track of all your different stats, all your different variables? We create a special data type that holds all that information in one package. So you define a struct by just saying struct, and then give it a name, curly braces, and then you put your different values, your variables that belong in there inside that struct. You can create a instance of that by just calling it and then assigning the values. Though we'll probably do it a different way. And then you access that data using the dot operator. Here we have Pokemon My Pikachu, myPikachu.name, Pikachu, then myPikachu.base stats. And we can set the values for each one of those. You can also do it as part of a constructor as well. It's a whole thing. There's a bunch of different ways we can use it. So why would we do that? Well, we can have clean parameter passing. Instead of passing in 6 different values, we can pass in 1. We can copy and compare stats really easily because you're only comparing one thing. And you also keep your identity information separate from your combat information so you can organize your data. Now, structs and classes are almost identical in C++. They really are almost the exact same thing. But structs are used as containers for variables without any other real logic. We use them just to hold some data. We don't want them to exist independently. We don't want them to be their own thing. In our case, we don't want them to exist outside of Pokemon. So we use struct. Well, how do we implement it? The first thing we need to do is create a new file for our stats struct to live in. So I'm going to go to the right where I have my header files folder. Right click, add, new item. I'm going to add a header file. I'm going to call it stats. Click add, and there we go. So we have a new file for stats. So I'm going to add in here a struct. So I'll do struct stats, then curly braces, semicolon. Now we just need to put the stuff in here. So I go back to my Pokemon.h, delete this stuff. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to cut this out and put it in here. I'm also going to change how these are capitalized. And there we go. We now have a struct that has these values. So one part of this is that we actually need to define the constructors for these as well. Like I said, structs are kind of like classes. So we need to define the constructor. So for that, all we do is do stats, then curly, parentheses, curly braces. And here we just do this will be our default constructor. So we'll do HP equals 0, so on and so forth. If you want to know how I did that, what I did is when I copied that down, I press Alt and then Shift, then the down key, the down arrow. I can make my cursor go over multiple lines. So now I can type in, it affects all the lines. Then if I hit the end button on my keyboard, I go to the end of each one of those lines and I can type. Now I need a way to get, to pass in data. So I need a constructor that has more information available to it. So I'm going to actually copy this. I'm going to add in here, int in HP. All right, so now we need to figure out, is this the order that we want the stats to actually be in? I actually don't want speed up here, up top. It's a small thing, but I actually want it to be at the bottom. This is more of a personal choice thing. And because the order is given like this for stats, HP, attack, special defense, special attack, special defense, speed. I want it to match. And when I pass the data in, I want to make sure that I do that the same way. So I'm going to cut that out and put it back here at the end. That way I can pass the data in the right order. All right, now I have all that. Now we need to do the setters and getters. And voila, I have my setters and getters done. So I went ahead and just did those. All right, now how do we actually use this? So I'll save this. I'm gonna go to Pokemon.h. And here I'm going to include stats.h. And then I'll do stats. I'll do base stats. And I'll do stats, current stats. Or I'll do cur stats. Then we go to our constructor and we just need to define what those are. So I'll do base stats. Then we have to pass in that data. And we do that like this. So equals curly braces, and then we just pass in the data. We'll be do 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Semicolon at the end. And we'll do the same thing for current stats. Then for my other constructor, I'm going to copy and paste. Then I'm going to go in here with 35, 55, 40, 50, 50, 90. So we're making this for Pikachu for right now. So we'll do 35, 55, 40, 50, 50, 90. And I'll set these as the current stats as well for right now. Actually, no, I'll leave it at 0. Leave the current stats at 0 because we need to figure out how to calculate this later. So to save this, I'll go to my game manager.cpp and I want to print out the stats. So I'll do cout my Pokemon dot base stats. Oh, I can't do that. I need to make the getter. Oops. So create the void get base stats. Wrong spot. Set base stats. And for this, I need 3 different values or 6 different values. So I'm going to actually just copy and paste here. And then I'm going to do stats, get base stats. All right, so for set base stats and set curse stats, I'm going to write a comment, say to do. Say that we'll come back to this later. And then for get base stats and get current stats, we'll do return base stats and return cur stats. So now we go back to Game Manager and we can do cout stats. My Pokemon dot get base stats dot get attack. For now, we'll just have it get the attack. And I press run. Stats 55, which is the attack value set. So our Pokemon, our Pikachu, now has stats, has base stats. We'll need to figure out how to calculate what the current stats are and set this up to print out all of the other stats and all that kind of stuff. But for right now, this has already gone on pretty long. But we implemented stats. So I'm going to make UML diagram and see that I have stats, base stats, and current stats. Make sure you go ahead and update your UML diagram to reflect that. Where you may have had your stats separated out, you can create a new reference to stats by, with UML, you have to do a class stats, and you can set all of these values up. So you can see that Pokemon has stats. I'll write a note saying base stats and cur stats. And you can take your stats that you had already there and just put those in. So that's going to be it for this one. Thanks.